Hello, welcome back. This is my dog. His name is Riobeun and he is a male Shih Tzu. And perhaps 1 month after the incident, she would have already forgotten about me. But personally, I would always remember her because I think it was a mistake and she was alive after all. So I felt really very bad about that. Hello Channel NITT viewers, I am DS, your psychologist, and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. So if this is your first time on our channel, welcome. We are a psychology channel, and in psychology, we discuss all sorts of human behaviors. In this episode and in another episode, we are going to talk about pets. Pets! Before I bring in my pet dog, let's discuss why human beings are attracted to pets. Especially cats and dogs. Why don't you take a guess? 3 seconds. A lot of you will say that pets are cute, pets are adorable, that's why human beings are attracted to it, right? Well, the psychological explanation, or the more atas explanation is, we as human beings are all programmed to be attracted to infantile characteristics. So when we see some animals that look like a baby to us, our paternal instinct is triggered and we just can't help but to pet them or to take care of them. We all have this instinct because we are all genetically programmed to want to take care of the young so that our species can continue to survive. Makes sense, right? So what's going to happen in this episode and the next pet episode is that I am going to feature my dog and I'm going to share my personal life lessons that I've learned from my experience with dogs. For those of you who are curious about how an ENtj is like as the pet owner, then watch on. Perhaps you can use these tips to identify another person who is an ENtj just from the way he or she treats the dog. Hello, welcome back. This is my dog. His name is Riobeun and he is a male Shih Tzu. Currently, he is 11 years old and I think he is a very insecure dog. Doesn't like to look at cameras, doesn't like to look at the mirror. Let's see what he does. He's trying to move away. See, he's trying to move away. Might as well just take thumbnails lah, just take thumbnails. Technically, Riobeun is my first dog. I bought Riobeun from a pet shop. So I'll talk about that story in another episode. But in this episode, I want to share my first experience with a dog. And it happened when I was 21 years old. It's not very nice to talk about another dog when you are hugging this dog, right? It's almost as if you are hugging a woman and thinking about another one, right? Okay, so you go. Can't wait to go. Bye bye. For this episode, I want to share with you a personal story. My first experience with a dog. To cut a long story short, I was a soldier then. I was about 20 to 21. That day, I was the duty signaller and my job is to go to the canteen to buy tea for the entire office. On my way back with all the food, a female dog out of nowhere disappeared and started following me all the way up the hill back to my camp. So my colleagues all went to play with her, but she stuck to me the most. By the end of the day, she was still there. So my colleague asked me to why not consider picking her up and bring her home if I liked her as a pet. So I thought about it and in a moment of impulse, I really did that. So when it was time to book out, I put her in my haversack. So I still remember putting her into my bag. I cleared a lot of my things and she was small enough to be placed into the bag comfortably, and I left a huge hole so that she could breathe and not suffocate in my bag. So I had a few options. I could take a bus home or I could take a cab home. At that time, I could not exactly afford taking a cab home, so I decided to take a bus, and it was actually illegal to have a dog in the bus. So I held the bag very tightly to me to make sure that she doesn't make a sound, a squeal or something like that. And finally we got home and my mom was not back yet, so I did chores like I bathed her, I tried to find some food so that she could eat. By the time my mom came home, I told her about the existence of this dog. She was rather unpleased. She said that we couldn't keep this dog because this dog is a female. And because she is a stray dog, so my mom assumed that she's not neutered, so she might dirty the place with her menstrual blood. So my mom said that we have to let this dog go. So my mom was rather insistent. She said that we couldn't keep the dog. So what I did was I picked the dog up and left her at the playground downstairs and went back. About 10 minutes later, the dog actually reappeared at my door. So when we opened the door, we saw that she was there. This time round, my mom herself went to pick the dog and left her at the playground again. And when she came back, she felt very sorry, and my mom told me that if the dog would reappear at my door a second time, then we could keep the dog. But unfortunately, the dog never returned. So she did not come back a second time. And on the next day, I went around the neighborhood trying to look for her, but she was nowhere to be found. Now this story may have happened a long time ago, and it was just only one day of my life that it happened, but it had a very huge impact on me, and I learned 3 important life lessons just from this incident. I have been thinking about this very often. I wonder whether I made a mistake. So sometimes, just because of a moment of folly, I decided to keep her as a pet. But if I had just left her at the company, then she would still be there the next day. I could have seen her for many more days and months. But just because of a moment of affection or a moment of misjudgment, I actually lost her, and I felt very apologetic about it because I did not know what happened to her after that. I am worried. I'm not too sure whether she met with a car accident or she may have been abused by other children in the neighborhood. Well, of course she might have been picked up by a nice family, but the otherwise could also have happened. A lot of times I think that I made a very bad decision because it would have been much safer to be in camp, in my company, rather than in a neighborhood. Of course, that incident happened a long time ago, and by this time, this dog, this unnamed dog, would have already passed on, and perhaps 1 month after the incident, she would have already forgotten about me. But personally, I would always remember her because I think it was a mistake, and she was alive after all. So I felt really very bad about that. So it is also very possible for it. Sorry. So you might have heard of people saying, I only met this person for 3 days, I only know this person for 3 hours, but I'm in love with her, I couldn't forget her, or something like that. That is totally possible because this dog I will always remember, even though she was only my dog for 3 hours. So up to this day, I still felt very apologetic about it, and I hope that wherever she is now, she is happy. Another thing that I learned from this incident is that I hope that people will always keep trying. If that dog would have tried coming back the second time, then she might have a home, even though she has found a home, or she might have found a home somewhere else the day after. And to think about it, my home may not be the best home because nobody is at home during the daytime. Even if she is at home, she will be very bored as a dog. So definitely a misjudgment on my part. So a lot of parents, you may have children, always try to ask you to buy them a dog or a cat or pet, but a lot of times they may not know what it takes to be a real pet owner. So even when I was 21, I was not ready to be a pet owner. I just thought that it would be nice to be a pet owner, then suddenly I become a daddy, that kind of thing. So it's all for vanity's sake. And I think if you really want to be a pet owner, you have to care about the welfare of that particular pet. Another thing that I really felt very sorry about is that we actually abandoned the dog twice. So by the second time she was left in the playground, I think she would have felt very hurt, and that might have led her to mistrust humans in the future. I'm not too sure about that, but nonetheless I can feel that it is not a good thing to do. So if you are in the position of wanting to care for a pet or want to take care of a pet, don't only do it because you wanted to, but are you ready to do it? I think that is a very important question to consider. And luckily, I think when I grew older, I was ready to have a pet, so I had a pet. So we're gonna feature my pet Riobeun in our next episode. I hope you actually enjoyed this episode, and if you have not subscribed, we are a psychology channel and we aim to produce videos that are different, that you cannot get anywhere else, and we hope you can consider subscribing. Do catch us on our next pet episode and on every other episode. I'll see you again. Bye bye.